Well, it's officially fall, which means it's about time to finish that project you started this summer, because if you don't get it done before the winter, it's going to turn into twice the pain in the ass. Back when we had our 2 dogs confined into this kind of small area, they absolutely destroyed it, to the point where I think their pee started killing the hedges, and I really don't want that to happen. And since our well went dry, water is obviously very important, and so trying to turn it back into a nice lawn is out of the question. So that means I'm going to be turning it into a hardscape area, and I thought a cool way to use it would be as a fire pit patio. But there's a little bit of a problem. In order to keep the new area level with the existing stamped concrete around it, there's a lot of soil to be moved. And so I moved a lot of it by hand with a shovel. And then my brother came into town and he said, "Yeah, I'm not helping you do that." So he made me rent a mini skid, and it made the work a lot easier, even if it did cost my cheap ass some money. So we regraded the whole area, because one of the issues about this area is that the downspout that they had previously installed under this just dead ends into the yard right here, and the grade's backwards, so the water just pools up. And a surefire way to have problems with your foundations or under slabs is to let water sit like that underneath it. So I have to extend this downspout out and away, and also make sure that the grade slopes away towards the hedges. So we regraded all that, and then we put down a big thick weed barrier underneath the whole area. And I had a rough idea of what I wanted it to look like, and I know I wanted to use a combination of flagstone and gravel, so we laid out the inner area of what'll be like a flagstone seating area, and then we dumped in some masonry sand and got to work laying out the flagstone. The flagstones aren't all uniform in thickness, so the sand helps level them out. And I'd like to say there was a method to this madness, but we just kind of mix and matched and put down the flagstones where we thought they best fit based on the shape. And then we filled in all the gaps between the stones with pea gravel, and my niece and nephew helped me smooth it all out and get all the gravel in place. My brother and his family headed back at this point, which means it was up to me to finish it up. So I started adding a perimeter around the inner seating area with some small concrete retaining wall blocks set in a bed of spec mix. More accurately, this is type S mortar. Now all the blocking that I use in this video I picked up from Lowe's, and this is what is called their tranquil color. So when all that was said and done, it looked something like this. At this point, I was a little bit concerned that it would be a little too one note, meaning that all the colors were just kind of, there's no contrast. I figured one way to add some color would be to add some potted plants on some other flagstones around the seating area, but I also thought that adding some little gardens around the central area would also add some color. So I built 3 little curved beds to go around the center circle, and in the end I kind of had this weird Celtic cross kind of shape going on. And I planted some roses and some ornamental grass in each one, and so far my dog seems to like it. And then it started to rain a lot, so I took advantage of the ground being softer to work on connecting and extending that downspout. So I dug a big trench so that I could inset a long section of pipe to extend it out to the hedges. It's not a French drain technically because the pipe is solid. It's just an extension of a downspout, although installing it fairly similar to installing a French drain. So once all that was done, I filled everything back in, and then I just started dumping loads and loads of pea gravel in to fill around the center seating area. And I broke it up by adding a few flagstones here and there. And because I'm apparently a masochist, I decided, you know what? Let's make a perimeter garden around this whole area. So I got some bigger tranquil blocks and I started building a little perimeter garden following the hedges. And I filled all that in with soil, and because it's late in the year to plant, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to plant for the spring. So I went and bought 250 tulip bulbs because my wife's favorite flowers are tulips, and I very carefully and painstakingly planted them with exact precision throughout the garden. And to help keep all the pea gravel in place, specifically in the seating area, I used this spray-on Petromax rock glue, and I sprayed a bunch of coats of it on the gravel to help hold it in place so that when you walk on it, the stones don't get all loose and annoying. And once I added in some chairs in the fire pit, this is what it looked like. Now that the evenings are cooling down, this is going to be a nice area to hang out in, and we actually got to break it in for the first time when some friends of ours came into town a couple weeks ago. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this project. As always, couldn't have done it without you, and I'll catch you on the next one.